What if life isn't random? What if every thought, every word, every choice is quietly shaping who you become? This is not about superstition. This is not about fear. This is about karma, the invisible thread that weaves intention into experience, habit into destiny, and presence into freedom. In this journey, we're not just talking about what happens to us. We're asking what flows from us. We're not seeking justice. We're awakening to responsibility. And in that awareness, we find the power to begin again, moment by moment. Welcome to karma, the subtle law that shapes everything. What karma really means, beyond reward and punishment. When most people hear the word karma, they think of cosmic justice. They imagine a force in the universe that rewards good deeds and punishes bad ones, a divine scoreboard keeping track of everything we do. Some see it as comfort, believing that those who hurt others will eventually face consequences. Others see it as fear, wondering if every mistake, every misstep, every unkind word will come back to haunt them. But both views misunderstand karma entirely. Karma is not a system of reward and punishment. It is not a cosmic vending machine where you put in kindness and expect success, or where wrongdoing immediately summons suffering. It is not fate, not destiny, not moral judgment. Karma, in its original and truest sense, is cause and effect. Nothing more, nothing less. But within that simplicity lies immense depth. In the Pali Canon, the Buddha defined karma as intention. Not action itself, but the volition behind it. It is volition, monks, that I call karma. For having willed, one acts by body, speech, and mind. That single teaching dismantles most of what the modern world believes about karma. It shifts the focus from external behavior to internal state. From what you do to why you do it. From results to roots. Every thought, every word, every deed, if done with intention, plants a seed. And that seed, depending on the conditions it meets, will eventually bear fruit. That is karma. Not punishment, not reward. Just the unfolding of cause and effect through time, space, and consciousness. But here's what makes it profound. Karma is not only something that happens to us, it is something we are constantly creating. Right now, in this very moment, your mind is shaping your future. Your response to this sentence, your reaction to your own thoughts, your emotional state, each of these is a karmic imprint in motion. And karma is not stored somewhere outside you. It lives in you, in your tendencies, in your mental patterns, in the way you react under stress, in the stories you tell about yourself and others. Karma is not some spreadsheet in the sky. It is the structure of your own becoming. This understanding changes everything, because it returns agency to you. You are not at the mercy of life. You are not the victim of arbitrary forces. You are the inheritor of your own intentions and the author of your next ones. And yet, this truth is not meant to burden you. It is not a weight, but a doorway. When we shift from seeing karma as external justice to internal development, we stop living in fear of retribution and start living in awareness of consequences. We no longer ask, am I being punished? But what am I cultivating? We no longer obsess over fairness, but over clarity. Because the truth is, karma is never personal. It is impersonal law. Just as fire burns whether you are good or bad, just as gravity pulls without judgment, karma unfolds regardless of who you are. The universe is not concerned with fairness. It is concerned with lawfulness. And that lawfulness is rooted in causes and conditions. When you plant a mango seed, you get mango fruit. Not because the universe likes you, not because you deserve it, but because mango seeds bear mangoes. Similarly, when you cultivate kindness, patience, mindfulness, you create the conditions for peace. Not because life owes it to you, but because causes bear effects. The challenge is that the timeline of karma is not always visible. Some causes ripen immediately. Others take years. Others ripen only in particular contexts. And still others lie dormant until the right conditions arise. That's why karma can feel confusing. That's why some people seem to get away with cruelty. That's why some lives seem burdened from the start. But unseen is not untrue. Delayed is not denied. Every cause has an effect. Every seed bears fruit. It may not look the way you expect. It may not come when you want. But it comes. Always. This is not mystical. This is practical. If you hold resentment, you suffer, even if the person who hurt you never faces consequences. If you act with greed, your heart contracts, even if you succeed outwardly. If you speak harshly, your relationships fracture, even if you're technically right. And conversely, if you choose compassion, your mind becomes lighter, even if no one thanks you. If you tell the truth, your integrity grows, even if it costs you. If you forgive, your freedom expands, even if the past remains unchanged. Karma is not about whether others notice. It's about what happens inside you. And the transformation it offers is immediate. Not because the world changes, but because your relationship to it does. This is why understanding karma matters. Not to manipulate the universe into giving us what we want, but to understand the kind of life we are creating through every thought, every intention, every moment of awareness or mindlessness. Karma is not something you believe in. It's something you live. Whether or not you call it karma, you are always shaping your mind, your habits, your reactions. Whether or not you understand its mechanics, you are always experiencing its results. Karma is not religious dogma. It is psychological reality. It is energetic law. It is ethical physics. And it invites us into radical responsibility, not for everything that happens to us, but for how we meet it. That's the difference. Karma doesn't say, you deserve your pain. It says how you respond to your pain will shape what happens next. It doesn't say, you attracted this suffering. It says your actions now determine whether you multiply suffering or transform it. Karma is not about blame. It is about causality. It is not backward looking. It is forward creating. And once you begin to understand this, life stops being a mystery and starts becoming a mirror. Not a mirror of punishment, but of potential. Because karma is not your fate, it is your freedom. It is your invitation to wake up, pay attention, and begin planting different seeds. It is not a system of reward. It is a field of possibility. And you are the gardener. The seeds we plant, how thought, speech, and action create reality. If karma is the law of cause and effect, then thought, speech, and action are the tools we use to shape our world, whether we realize it or not. Every moment, we are planting seeds. Sometimes we plant them carelessly, with little awareness. A sarcastic remark here, a self-critical thought there, an impulsive reaction in traffic. Sometimes we plant them with love. A kind glance, a moment of deep listening, a silent prayer for someone who hurt us. Most of the time, we're planting without knowing it. But just because we aren't aware, doesn't mean the seed isn't planted. And sooner or later, every seed will sprout. In Buddhism, karma is expressed through what are called the three doors: body, speech, and mind, kaya, vc, and siddha. These are the pathways through which karma is created and experienced. Let's begin with the one we often ignore the most, the mind. Thought, intention, citan. In the modern world, we treat thought as private, inconsequential, something we can indulge without consequence. But from the perspective of karma, thought is powerful. A single thought, repeated often enough, becomes a belief. That belief becomes an identity. That identity shapes behavior. And behavior, repeated, becomes your life. If you constantly think, "I'm not enough," you'll act from insecurity. If you habitually judge others, you'll close your heart. If you obsessively replay your past, you will miss your present. The mind is not just a mirror reflecting reality. It is a projector shaping it. And every thought you entertain, every emotion you fuel, every judgment you reinforce, it all leaves an imprint. These imprints build your character, your perception, your trajectory. This is the karma of thought. What we allow in the mind becomes the soil from which everything else grows. Next is speech. Most of us underestimate the power of words. But words once spoken cannot be unspoken. They ripple into others' hearts. They echo in memory. They carry energy. They can heal or harm, uplift or poison. The Buddha was meticulous in his guidance around speech. Right speech, one of the elements of the Noble Eightfold Path, is not just about avoiding lies. It's about abstaining from divisive talk, harsh words, idle chatter. It's about using your voice as a tool for truth, for unity, for compassion. A careless word can end a friendship. A cruel comment can destroy trust. A single sentence spoken in anger can plant a seed of resentment that lasts years. And sometimes the most harmful speech isn't directed at others, but at ourselves. The internal dialogue that constantly belittles, blames, doubts, that too is karma. Because it shapes how we show up. It determines whether we shrink or shine. It decides whether we carry guilt or gentleness. And finally, there is action. What we do with our hands. Where we go with our feet. How we use our time, our resources, our energy. This is the most visible form of karma, and also the most complex. Because actions don't exist in isolation. They are born from thought and speech, and they feed back into them. When we act from greed, we reinforce greed. When we act from generosity, we reinforce generosity. When we take from others, we increase our sense of separation. When we give freely, we remember our interconnectedness. The smallest actions often carry the greatest karmic weight, not because they're dramatic, but because they're consistent. The way you greet your family in the morning, the way you respond to criticism, the way you treat the person who serves your coffee. These are not neutral events. These are the moments that build the architecture of your life. But here's the good news. Karma is not just about what you've done. It's about what you're doing right now, in this moment. The seeds you planted yesterday may still bear fruit, but the seeds you plant today shape what blooms next. That's the power of awareness. That's the beauty of present moment intention. It means that no matter what patterns you've inherited, no matter what actions you regret, you are never locked in. You can choose again. You can speak differently. You can think with compassion. You can act with clarity. And each of those choices plants a new seed. Karma isn't about punishment, it's about momentum. And the only way to change your direction is to stop, become still, and plant a different intention. So how do we work skillfully with the 3 doors? First, we become aware. We begin to notice our mental habits. We question our narratives. We slow down enough to hear the tone of our voice, not just its content. We observe our actions with curiosity, not condemnation. Second, we take responsibility, not in a heavy way, but in an empowering way. We recognize that we are not victims of our minds, our mouths, or our habits. We are the creators of them. And third, we practice. Gently, consistently. When the mind is unkind, we redirect it. When the voice is reactive, we pause. When the impulse is selfish, we remember our values. And we keep doing this, not to be perfect, but to be intentional, to be present, to be free. Karma is not about controlling life. It's about participating in it consciously. It's about realizing that every moment is a field, and every thought, every word, every act you are planting. So ask yourself, what are you growing? Not someday, but right now. Because right now is the only soil you can touch. Right now is the only garden you can tend. And right now is where karma becomes compassion, becomes freedom, becomes peace. Why good people suffer, the complexity of cause and condition. One of the most difficult questions in life, and perhaps the most commonly asked when people begin to explore the idea of karma, is this: if karma is real, why do good people suffer? Why do kind, generous, honest human beings sometimes face hardship after hardship, while others who lie, cheat, or harm seem to flourish? On the surface, this seems to contradict everything we want to believe about cause and effect. It offends our sense of moral order. It challenges our idea of justice. And if we stay on the surface, it's easy to dismiss karma as naive or unfair. But the answer is not that karma is broken. It's that our understanding of karma is incomplete. Karma does not operate like a vending machine, where one good deed produces one reward and one bad deed results in punishment. It is not linear. It is not immediate. It is not simple. Karma is vast, layered, and deeply contextual. To truly understand it, we must look not only at individual actions, but at the countless causes and conditions that converge to create experience. Think of karma like a garden. You may plant seeds of kindness, patience, compassion, but those seeds do not exist in isolation. They are affected by the soil they're in, the weather that comes, the timing of the season. Some seeds blossom quickly. Some take years. Some sprout quietly underground before ever appearing on the surface. And some may never fully bloom in this lifetime. Does that mean your planting was wasted? No, it means the conditions weren't yet ripe. This is the complexity of cause and condition, what in Buddhist thought is called pekasamupda, or dependent origination. Everything arises due to multiple causes, not just one. Every moment of suffering, every moment of joy, is the result of innumerable conditions, past actions, environmental factors, psychological tendencies, societal structures, relationships, and even karmic imprints carried from earlier in life or earlier lives. When we see someone suffering despite being kind, we are often witnessing the fruition of old karma, not necessarily the product of who they are now, but the unfolding of seeds planted long ago. And when we see someone who causes harm yet seems to thrive, we may be witnessing the temporary results of past good karma, fruits that will eventually ripen and fall, even if not immediately visible. Karma is not a guarantee of instant justice. It is a law of accumulation and release. The suffering of a good person does not negate their goodness. In fact, sometimes the depth of their suffering is a reflection of their sensitivity, their open heart, their refusal to numb or close down. And sometimes suffering is not punishment at all. It is purification. It is the burning away of residual karmic patterns. It is the pressure that breaks open a deeper level of awareness. Some of the wisest, most compassionate human beings on this planet have endured great suffering, not because they deserved it, but because they were ready to meet it consciously, because their minds had ripened enough to transform pain into understanding. Karma is not just about what happens to us. It is about how we meet what happens. Two people may experience the same loss, but respond differently. One closes, the other opens. One becomes bitter, the other becomes deeper. And in that moment of response, new karma is created. Old seeds ripen, but what we do next determines what we plant anew. This is the power we often forget. We cannot always control the fruits of past karma, but we can always choose how we respond, and that response plants the seeds of future freedom or future suffering. A good person who suffers and continues to love is building a field of immense beauty, even if it isn't visible yet. A person who gets away with harm is often accumulating suffering they will one day have to face, perhaps not externally, but internally. Because karma doesn't only show up as events, it shows up as character, as clarity or confusion, as inner peace or inner torment. A person who cheats others may gain wealth but lose sleep. A person who manipulates may build power but lose intimacy. Karma is not always loud. Sometimes it whispers, and the loudest lives are not always the most peaceful. So when we see good people suffer, let us not conclude that karma has failed. Let us understand that karma is subtle, that goodness is not a shield against life's challenges, but it is a pathway through them. Let us stop measuring karma only by external outcomes and begin to look at the internal unfolding of wisdom, compassion, and freedom, because those are the true fruits. Those are the gifts that no suffering can take away. And perhaps most importantly, let us learn not to judge the karma of others. We do not see the whole story. We do not know the seeds they carry, the burdens they bear, or the awakening that may be taking place within them. Karma invites us into humility, into patience, into a deeper kind of seeing, one that does not reduce life to transactions of pain and reward, but honors the mystery of how consciousness grows through both. So the next time you find yourself asking, why do good people suffer? Pause, remember the garden, remember the hidden roots. Remember that the storm is not the end. It is often the rain that nourishes something beautiful beneath the surface. And most of all, remember that your own response, right now, in the face of that question, is a seed, and you get to choose what kind it is. Instant karma is a myth, but nothing is ever lost. We live in an age of instant gratification. One-click shopping, instant messaging, real-time tracking. We are conditioned to expect results now. And this conditioning seeps into how we view everything, including karma. We want to see immediate justice, instant cause, immediate effect. We want reassurance that the good we do will come back to us quickly, and that the harm others cause will be met with swift consequence. But karma doesn't work like that. Not because it's flawed, but because it is far more complex, precise, and patient than our expectations allow. Instant karma is a myth, not because karma doesn't work, but because it doesn't work on our schedule. Karma operates beyond the surface of time. It doesn't unfold according to the timelines of ego, emotion, or even our moral preferences. Instead, it follows the unfolding of causes and conditions. And conditions are not always visible. Some karma ripens quickly. A moment of anger leads to immediate regret. A generous act is met with a smile that softens your day. But other karma is slower, more subtle. It may take months, years, or even lifetimes to bear fruit. It may unfold inwardly, in the form of mental peace or agitation, rather than externally. It may influence your health, your relationships, your opportunities, or it may lie dormant, waiting for the right circumstances to arise. This is where many people lose faith in karma. They do something kind and face hardship. They see cruelty rewarded with comfort, and they wonder, what's the point? But here's what we forget. Karma is not an accountant. It is not keeping score. It is not a short-term exchange system. Karma is more like gravity, subtle, constant, impersonal. You may not feel it all the time, but it is always shaping you. It is the invisible force behind the texture of your mind, behind your recurring emotions, behind your habitual choices. And like gravity, you don't always notice it until you fall. Just because karma doesn't strike instantly doesn't mean it disappears. The seeds we plant may not sprout tomorrow, but they are never lost. They are carried in our consciousness, in our energetic field, in the structure of our mind. They become our tendencies. They become our stories. They become our path. Imagine two people in the same situation. One responds with anger, the other with compassion. On the outside, it looks like nothing changes. But internally, their futures just diverged. One is reinforcing a habit of reactivity. The other is cultivating spaciousness. Those trajectories may not show on the surface yet, but they are already taking shape. This is why karma matters, not because it guarantees immediate outcomes, but because it shapes the invisible architecture of our lives. Every time you choose patience over rage, generosity over greed, truth over comfort, you are not only impacting the world around you, you are sculpting the kind of person you become. Karma is subtle, but it is exact. It doesn't forget. Not because it is watching you, but because it is you. You carry it with you always, in the way you love, in the way you forgive, in the way you sleep at night, in the way you show up when no one is watching. And perhaps most importantly, karma does not punish or reward, it ripens. Like fruit, when the conditions are right, the effects manifest. That's why some karma waits, not because it's on hold, but because the right soil has not yet arrived. And sometimes karma manifests in disguise. A loss that breaks your heart becomes the doorway to wisdom. A betrayal that wounds you deeply forces you to reclaim your worth. A period of loneliness pushes you inward, where you finally meet yourself. These are not punishments. These are the hidden ripenings of old karma, made fertile by your readiness to grow. But here's the most powerful truth of all. Karma is not only in what happens, it is in how you meet what happens. You may not control the past causes that brought you here, but you absolutely control the present causes that shape where you go next. Your response is always new karma. Your awareness is always planting. Your choices are always weaving the next fabric of your life. So instead of obsessing over what should have happened, or when justice will arrive, ask, what am I creating now? Am I reacting or responding? Am I clinging or releasing? Am I asleep or aware? These are the real metrics of karma. Not the score, but the direction. Not the reward, but the resonance. Not what comes to you, but what flows from you. In this way, karma becomes not a judgment, but a journey. A path of refinement. A path of consciousness. A path that you walk not to gain something later, but to become something now. So no, instant karma is not real. But nothing is ever lost. Every act matters. Every intention counts. Every small, unseen moment of integrity shapes who you are. And even if no one else knows, even if the world never notices, the universe remembers. Because the universe is not separate from you. It is within you. And every time you choose love, even when it costs you, every time you choose presence, even when it hurts, every time you choose truth, even when it's inconvenient, you align yourself with the deep current of karma that does not forget, that does not rush, and that always delivers. Not as punishment or prize, but as the next unfolding of your becoming. Changing our karma, how present awareness shifts the future. If karma were fixed, we would be prisoners of our past. If karma were fate, we would have no choice but to walk the path laid before us, unable to change direction. But karma is not fate. Karma is not destiny. Karma is habit, and habits can be transformed. Karma is intention, and intention can be purified. Karma is momentum, and momentum can shift the moment you change your stance, your view, your breath. The most powerful truth about karma is that it is not only cumulative, it is interruptible. Every moment of awareness is a turning point. Every pause is a doorway. Every act of presence is a chance to plant something new. And that's why understanding karma isn't about looking backward. It's about choosing forward. It's about waking up to the creative power you carry right now, in this instant. Because no matter what karma brought you to this moment, your response to it is new karma. Your perception is a seed. Your decision is a seed. Your silence, your speech, your softness, these are all creative acts. And they matter. They are not just expressions of who you are, they are creators of who you become. So how do we begin to shift karma consciously? First, we must meet what arises without judgment. That includes our old tendencies, our shadow patterns, our painful habits. Awareness is not condemnation, it is recognition. It is the mirror that allows us to see ourselves clearly, not so we can shame ourselves, but so we can choose differently. When anger arises, we observe it, not because we want to suppress it, but because we want to know it, to feel its texture, to understand what fuels it. And in that observation, we interrupt the automatic cycle. We create space. Space is where freedom begins. In that space, we can respond instead of react. We can soften instead of harden. We can listen instead of defend. And in doing so, we stop feeding the karma of reactivity and begin feeding the karma of wisdom. Second, we cultivate intentionality. Karma doesn't require grand gestures. It responds to subtle direction. The way you pour your tea, the way you hold your phone, the way you enter a room, all of it is energy. All of it carries intention. When you move with care, speak with integrity, think with clarity, you are not just behaving differently, you are laying a new karmic foundation. This is not about being perfect. It's about being awake. Awake to the tone of your voice. Awake to the impact of your gaze. Awake to the inner climate you're creating with each breath. Third, we embrace repetition. Because karma is built not from isolated acts, but from patterns. One moment of awareness is powerful, but sustained awareness, that is transformative. You don't have to change everything overnight. You only have to change this moment, and then the next, and then the next. Over time, those choices accumulate. They rewire your nervous system. They shift your emotional baseline. They alter your perception of the world. And eventually, what once felt impossible becomes natural. What once triggered rage evokes compassion. What once closed your heart opens it. This is the beauty of karma. It is precise, but it is forgiving. It remembers everything, but it also responds instantly to change. You don't have to be defined by who you were yesterday. You are not condemned by old karma. You are shaped by new karma, born of awareness. There's a story in the Buddhist tradition about a thief who, after years of harming others, encountered the Buddha. In that moment of presence, he felt something he had never known: compassion. It didn't erase the harm he had caused, but it opened a new path. He changed his life. He became a monk. He spent the rest of his days in service. Did his past karma disappear? No, but it was transformed. Not by denial, but by depth. The ripple of his change touched thousands. That is the power of present intention. That is the power you hold right now. Your life is not just the sum of your past actions. It is the expression of your present awareness. Every time you pause to reflect, you are shifting karma. Every time you choose truth over comfort, you are shifting karma. Every time you forgive, even when you're still hurting, you are shifting karma. Every time you hold your own suffering with gentleness, you are shifting karma. And slowly, the field of your life changes. The mind becomes quieter. The heart becomes more open. The path ahead becomes more spacious. This is not magic. This is not spiritual bypassing. This is the practical miracle of awareness. This is karma, refined by presence. The goal is not to control outcomes. The goal is to live with such clarity, such kindness, such rootedness, that no matter what arises, you meet it with wisdom. Because that is how karma truly transforms, not from fear, but from freedom. Not through effort alone, but through alignment. So the question is not, how do I erase my karma? The question is, how do I meet my karma with love? How do I plant better seeds today? Not because I'm afraid, but because I understand. How do I live as if every thought, word, and deed is a sacred offering to the life I am creating? Because it is. And you are the one offering it. Always. Karma in everyday life, walking gently, living wisely. If karma only lived in sacred texts, it would be philosophy. If karma only appeared in moments of crisis, it would be superstition. But karma lives in the ordinary. It lives in the breath you take when you wake up, in the way you greet the person who brings your coffee, in the tone you use when speaking to a child, in how you respond to your own mistakes. Karma is not far away. It is right here. It is this moment, this gesture, this gaze. It's not dramatic. It's subtle, but its impact is profound. Because the habits you repeat daily are not just expressions of who you are, they are creators of who you become. You don't have to climb a mountain to practice karma. You only have to slow down enough to notice the ripples you are sending into the world. And not just into the world around you, but into your own mind, your own body, your own future. That is where karma becomes a way of life. Not something to believe in, but something to embody. To live karma is to live with care, not out of fear, but out of reverence. You begin to realize that everything matters, not in a heavy way, but in a sacred way. The words you choose are no longer weapons or decorations. They are bridges. The pauses you take before reacting are not delays. They are doorways. The thoughts you allow to stay are not invisible. They are architects. And the way you carry yourself in this world, your posture, your presence, your patience, these are not background behaviors. They are karmic invitations. Every day, life gives you opportunities to shape karma. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can multiply anger, or you can break the cycle. When a coworker speaks harshly, you can defend your ego, or you can offer calm. When you fail at something you cared about, you can spiral into shame, or you can hold yourself with compassion. These are not small decisions. They are moments of creation. They are karmic thresholds. Because karma is not about what happens. It's about what you do with what happens. That's where wisdom begins. And with wisdom comes softness. Not weakness, but strength without harm. You start to walk differently, not because you're better, but because you're awake. Awake to the impact of your presence. Awake to the tenderness of others. Awake to the beauty of planting seeds you may never see bloom. This is living karma. You speak gently not to impress, but because you understand the echo of words. You give without needing to be seen, because generosity is its own reward. You forgive not because it's easy, but because you no longer wish to carry the fire. You pause not because you doubt, but because you care. And you do this not once, but again and again, until it becomes who you are. This is not about being perfect. You'll still fall, still forget, still react. But even in that falling, karma meets you, not to punish, but to ask, "What now?" And in that asking, you awaken. Karma is not the universe watching you. It is you watching yourself honestly, kindly, clearly. It is the inner awareness that notices the moment you turn away from your values and invites you to return. No judgment, just invitation, just choice, just practice. So how do you live wisely in daily life? You simplify. You pay attention. You ask yourself not, "Is this right or wrong?" but "What is this creating?" You let go of the need for control and instead cultivate presence. You release the obsession with outcomes and instead return to intention. You stop trying to perfect the world and instead begin refining your relationship to it. You live slowly. You breathe deeply. You listen more than you speak. You hold space for uncertainty. You walk gently. And in that gentleness, you realize the most powerful karma is kindness. Not dramatic, not heroic, just ordinary, quiet, consistent kindness. The kind that holds a stranger's gaze without judgment. The kind that softens in conflict instead of sharpening. The kind that forgives yourself when you stumble and forgives others when they do the same. This kind of karma doesn't show up on news feeds. It doesn't trend, but it heals. It stabilizes. It spreads. And over time, it creates a life that feels light, not because it's easy, but because it's aligned. Karma in everyday life is not a burden. It's a blessing, a chance to live with clarity, to remember that nothing you do is ever lost, that everything you touch carries your energy, and that your presence, when grounded in awareness, is the most powerful force you'll ever have. So walk gently, not because the world is fragile, but because you are planting seeds with every step. And what you plant, you become. You're not bound by your past. You're not trapped in your patterns. You're not waiting for the universe to reward or punish you. You are planting, always planting. And what you plant through thought, speech, and action is what you become. So walk gently, speak clearly, love bravely, not because karma is watching, but because awareness is freedom. And in this freedom, you remember, the most sacred thing you can offer the world is your presence, fully here, fully alive.